Hi everyone, my name is Sophia Cai. I'm a curator, arts writer, and a fan of BTS, otherwise known as ARMY. Thank you, DM, for having me, and thank you all for being here today. So I'm talking about my work that I do as a curator and a writer that's been inspired by BTS over the last few years. As you'll see in the subtitle of the presentation, it's how I make my dreams tax deductible. So to start with, I became an ARMY in the year of 2019. As you can tell, I obviously love Pink, and when Boy With Love came out, it just changed my life. In the first year of being an ARMY, I was naive enough to think that I could go to Seoul, Korea for their concert without a concert ticket. So this was a photo of me taken by my partner who kindly came with me to the BTS pop-up shop, which was the closest I could get to a concert. After lining up, I think from maybe 5 a.m. that morning to get into a shop to buy things. That was the first of many overnight queuing experiences I've had because of BTS. So as a curator and arts writer, one of the things that I often think about is the way that art is presented to the public and what kind of art we value or devalue. So I read this book called Fandom as Methodology. It's an anthology edited by two scholars. And I'll just read this quote for you. Within art history, fandom is often used as a throwaway term, a casual aside, unworthy of serious consideration. At other times, the palpable fandom in artworks and of artists is explicitly denied or derided due to its troublesome alignment with taste, embodiment, and the locatedness of subjectivity. There's a lot of jargon to basically say, because fandom is such a personal, often emotional thing, it doesn't get taken seriously. And of course, there's a gendered and racialized aspect to this as well, especially given that the K-pop fandom is made up of lots of young women and lots of people of color as well. So reading this book, I think, transformed something in me in the terms of, I think, about my work. So my work responds to things that I'm interested in, and at this stage, BTS has pretty much taken over my life. So I started kind of doing projects that were inspired by them. So the first thing I did was in 2020, I curated an exhibition titled 0 O'Clock. So for any ARMY here, you know what that song is and what it symbolizes. So this track from the Mott's 7 album, rest in peace Mott's tour. I had soundcheck tickets to that tour. Okay. Anyway, taking on the theme of 0 O'Clock, which is sort of about waiting for the start of a new day, right? And this kind of potential that this sort of new day promises, and that, you know, whatever worries or anxieties you might have, tomorrow is a new day. So when I was asked to curate an exhibition for COVA, which is the Centre of Visual Arts at the University of Melbourne, I came up with an exhibition idea that was centred on 0 O'Clock. However, none of the artists in the show were ARMY. Instead, what I did was take that kind of concept of time to kind of apply a curatorial methodology. So this was working with student artists, so artists who were either honours or master students at BCA. And it was also presented online because during this time we were in the middle of our lockdown period, which is also sort of why I wanted to provide a kind of comforting, you know, exhibition context. BTS at that point were giving me a lot of comfort, and I wanted to extend that out. So one of the things that I decided to do, every other exhibition hosted on COVA website is, you know, on a white background. I made sure to have the kind of pink theme, but also the purple colour theme, which, you know, is a colour that's significant to the fandom. So all of the artists had their own tile that you could click through to look at their work. One of my favourite things I did was I made an online playlist where I paired each of the artists in the exhibition with a title track by BTS, and I talked about why I matched the two works together. And, you know, it was interesting because I asked all the artists for permission before I did this, given that none of them, you know, are fans and I didn't want to impose onto them. But the feedback was really generous, and I'm pretty sure one of them still listens to BTS now. So my next project was kind of a result of me buying too many albums. So I collect photo cards, which means every comeback for BTS, I buy many, many albums. And I can never bear to, like, after giving one away to basically all of my friends, I can't ever bear throwing them away. So there was a video of the BTS members decorating the Butter album. And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. What I could do is invite artists to decorate an album. And so this is what the fundraiser was. So this was made, once again, during another lockdown in Melbourne. It was a hard time. So I invited 7 artists, some who had kind of connection to BTS and some who didn't, but just were very supportive and kind, to basically contribute and donate an artwork. So I sent them an album in the mail. And then they worked on it and sent it back to me, and I held an online fundraiser on Instagram. And half the proceeds went to the artists and half went to a mutual aid organisation. And this was a really, once again, like a fun and joyous project to work on. And when the Proof album came out, and I had so many Proof albums at my house, I thought, is it time for another fundraiser? But there's something so nice about the butter, the yellow and the orange. Also, from an artistic point of view, the cover of the album, it's kind of got this really nice matte kind of papery surface, which makes it really good for painting and drawing on. So if you ever wonder what to do with your spare albums, this is something you can do. So at this point, I was ready to kind of like declare loudly to the art world that I was a BTS fan. I think most people already knew by this point, but it wasn't very subtle. By the way, when I say casual fan, it's ironic, I know, it's not serious. So I was working with 2 galleries on an exhibition at this point, and my original proposal was very different. And one day I emailed them and I said, hi, I want to completely change my exhibition idea. And thankfully, both the organisations were very open to it. So I ended up curating an exhibition called Sincerely Yours, which is all about fandom. Ari, who's one of the performers today, was in the exhibition. And one of the great joys of this exhibition is it wasn't really about BTS. It was really about how people find joy and community through different hobbies. Like, I'm someone who's had hobbies my entire life. It's just that BTS seem to have stuck around for longer. But I also recognise that whatever your special interest is, it's really significant and should be worthy of celebration. So this is an exhibition I look back at very fondly because of, giving kind of space for many different forms of fandom to be expressed. So for instance, the work on the left here is by Carly Snoswell, who's an Adelaide-based artist that's inspired by Lisa Simpson. And she talks about how Lisa Simpson was one of her first feminist icons. The work on the right is a series of portraits of different former CEOs of Nintendo. And, I love that idea of you're not drawing, Mario or Luigi, you're drawing the CEOs of this company. As part of the exhibition, to really make it even more nerdy, I asked all the artists and everyone who was involved, which included the gallery staff, volunteers, and so forth, to contribute an object from their own life that was meaningful to them, that represented their fandom. So I think eagle-eyed army will spot my contribution, which is very obvious, my little chimney in the bottom. So that was another way to kind of express the fandom, I guess. And for the exhibition, so usually when I curate exhibitions, as a curator, one of your jobs is to write a text that sort of explains the purpose or the themes of the exhibition and contextualises all the artist's work. I wrote a letter to Min Yoongi, so Sugar of BTS. And I wrote a letter to him because in one of his lives, he talked about reading fan fiction, and I kind of started with this idea of fan fiction as a space of imagination and world building, and then I kind of go from there. So basically the essay I wrote took the form of a letter to him, and then I sign it, like a letter. People ask me whether they think that I want him to read it. I don't think I want him to perceive me. I think I think when you do these things, I don't know. I think it's more an expression of your love. It doesn't necessarily, like, fandom is so interesting to me because it's not reciprocated in that kind of way, but you still do all this labour, right? Fan labour to me is really interesting, like how much time and energy you devote to these things that to people who will never know your existence, but there's still joy to be had in that. So I don't call myself an artist, but other people seem to want to. So this year I was invited to be in an exhibition that was about the concept of leisure. And the person who invited me, who was a curator, said, oh, can you show your BTS collection? And I thought, oh, this is a great way to make my collecting hobby tax deductible again. So I brought together a selection of items and put it into a vitrine. So it was like a mini curated collection within a larger exhibition. And there was also a public program day, which I think DM came to, which was super fun. We had dancers and speakers and so forth. And the feedback from the gallery was like, wow, there's so many people who came who I guess normally wouldn't go to a commercial art gallery on Burke Street. That's kind of hard to find, right? And I think that is one of the really great possibilities of tapping into fandom through creative work. You really, when people love something, you care about something, they'll show up. And it was really wholesome, like, when a child tells you I had fun, you're like, yeah, I did a good job. Like, it was a really nice event. So I look back on it very fondly as well. And just lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that has actually been really significant to me. So I was able to participate in so there's a BTS conference. So if any of you also want to make your dreams tax deductible, what you can do is apply, submit a paper, and then go and talk about it. So I submitted a paper titled Namjooning in and out of the museum, the contemporary Flaneur. Once again, a lot of art jargon, but basically I was talking about this idea of Namjoon, the leader of BTS, visiting museums, and then how fans model that behaviour, and linking it to this kind of art history notion of the Flaneur, which is basically a rich white dude that walks through the city looking at things. And I wanted to bring it into a contemporary context and think about how we do that now in a digital way. So this is a picture of me in Seoul at the conference, where I was the only art historian, which I thought was quite fun. And I also learnt a lot from other scholars. I had a human rights lawyer speak before me. So when I went up, I was like, so I'm going to talk about museums now. But there's so many possibilities that kind of, I'm not, I do work at a university, but I'm not a permanent academic. So for me, doing something like this was actually quite a huge deal. And I often think about how being a BTS fan pushed me to apply for a conference on my own, which I don't think I would have maybe had the courage to do otherwise. I'm just going to because I think I have too many slides. So my parents don't know that I went to see Sugar 7 times. And when I wrote this article, I thought, I wonder whether they'll see it, because it's on The Guardian. Anyway, they haven't said anything to me, so I think I'm safe for now. One of the things I like to do is write about BTS. As a writer, I feel like writing gives sense and purpose to things. So this year, my bias is Sugar, so I went to see his tour numerous times. And I wrote about the experience. And it was really interesting because I feel like what you were saying, DM, earlier about how often when you're a fan of K-pop, you feel like you have to defend yourself, or especially to be taken seriously or something. I think I'm at the point where I don't really care what other people think anymore. And this piece of writing, I talk a little bit about how I realised that pursuing happiness or joy, it's actually a really bold thing to do, and to not police how other people express that joy, because that's really what it comes down to. I don't know why they used this picture to advertise the concert, but I'll take what I can get. Just as a last note, I have Natasha, who's also in the audience. Hi, Natasha. Natasha and we wanted to kind of create there she is with the light stick. We started this club called the Namjooning Club, and it's basically a place for us to talk about BTS, but also do activities that are inspired by Namjoon. And I think it's for me because I guess my motivation was I wanted to have a space to meet, I guess, like-minded fans who are also thinking about these things, and it wasn't just all about consumption, even though that's a huge part that I do love about it. So we had a book club recently where we talked about Almond, and we're going to have another book club soon where we talk about the new BTS book, which just came out this week. So if you want to be involved, let me know, and I can add you to our mailing list. It's very informal. We just meet at the library. It's very wholesome. And that's it. Thank you. Sorry, one last thing. JK single comes out tomorrow at 2 p.m. So please stream 7. Thank you.